What passes today for American conservatism is not, upon inspection, conservative at all. It conserves nothing, least of all constitutional restraint, fiscal sobriety, or the classical suspicion of centralized power that one might naively expect. Instead, it is better understood as the domestic sales pitch for the American empire, a set of myths designed to make destruction and expansion sound like patriotism. Let us begin with the obvious fraud. Conservatism, properly defined, is cautious, historically literate, and skeptical of grand schemes. Empire, by contrast, is restless, messianic, and addicted to force. Yet the modern American quote-unquote conservative happily marries the two, insisting that the United States must bestride the globe like a colossus, while solemnly invoking the Founding Fathers, those notoriously anti-imperial figures who warned explicitly against foreign entanglements and standing armies. Oh, the brazenness of the contradiction! The conservative movement's true constants are now no longer in any way small government and local control, but militarism abroad, especially on behalf of Israel, and executive power at home, also heavily lobbied for Israel. Budgets explode for the Pentagon, while schools rot. Deficits are denounced until a war or tax cut for the wealthy requires them to be forgotten, and law and order becomes a euphemism for surveillance, incarceration, and the suspension of civil liberties whenever fear can be sufficiently whipped up. The empire must be protected, you see, and the citizen must learn to submit. Then there is the theological dimension, because every empire needs a god. American conservatism wraps its imperial project in a blend of civil religion and evangelical fervor, portraying US power as not merely strategic, but righteous. Wars are no longer fought for oil, influence, or hegemony. Perish the thought, but for freedom, a word drained of all meaning through overuse, like a banknote printed into worthlessness. The conservative cheerleaders of invasion and occupation are rarely the ones sent to bleed or die, which gives their piety a particularly bloodless quality. Notice, too, the selective nationalism. The conservative professes undying love for the nation, yet has historically happily shipped jobs overseas on behalf of corporate greed, defers to said multinational corporations for ethics of which they have little to none, and allows foreign policy to be dictated by defense contractors and lobbyists who have never met a war they didn't want someone else to fight. This is ultranationalism transmuted into imperial management, dressed up in a flag and sold to the public as destiny. And when the empire falters because it operates in a soup of lies, as all empires do, the conservative does not reconsider the premise. Instead, he reaches for the oldest excuse in the book, betrayal from within. The failure cannot be imperial overreach. It must be insufficient loyalty, insufficient violence, insufficient faith. Thus, dissent becomes unpatriotic, actual real journalism becomes ridiculed, and criticism of power becomes heresy. So let us be clear. What calls itself American conservative now in its dominant form is not about conserving the republic. It is about administering an empire while pretending one does not exist. It demands obedience, sanctifies force, and calls it virtue. And like all imperial ideologies, it will insist right up to the moment of collapse that there was never any alternative. History, alas, is not so easily persuaded.